Hey, what's going on guys? James here for RuneShark, and today I'm kicking off the first in a series of Slayer task guides. So I'm going to start it all off today with the Hellhounds Slayer task. Now I'm going to bring up an annotation on the screen, and it will show you that Hellhounds are combat level 122 with 1150 life points. This makes them fairly high combat, however they are very easy because they only attack with melee. That means if you are a very low combat and you get assigned Hellhounds, you can pray melee, and if you're a higher combat then you can just use some strong defensive gear. They have a max hit of 120, and they give 116 Slayer XP on death. Okay, so now we know exactly what we're facing, we can set up our gear. I'm going to show two setups today, first being a high level setup, which you should see on your screen right now. We're going to start out with bandos and a rapier with a dragon defender. The reason we're using the dragon defender is because we do not need a high defensive shield, and we want the extra attack bonus given by the dragon defender. We can use the Soul Split Curse or the Unicorn Familiar in order to heal our HP or life points back to full when they drop. So we do not need the defensive bonus of a shield, as we want to hit as high as we can and as frequently as we can to get the task over as fast as possible. You'll also notice that we are using a Slayer helmet. That's because we're on a Slayer task, and if you want to you can also sub it out for a black mask if you don't have one yet. We've got the Soul Wars cape over a fire cape because we want the good prayer bonus. This means we're going to be using the Turmoil Curse or the Piety Prayer, whichever you have, for the entire task. People think this is a waste of money, but it makes the task at least 50% faster. It makes you hit extremely hard and extremely fast, and then you can move on to your next task and profit from your next task even quicker. So it's well worth using Turmoil or Piety, and I well advise it for the entire task. As for Barrow's gloves, obviously best gloves in the game, and dragon boots, we want to use the maximum damage as possible. If you don't have bandos, you can sub it out, or we can use the second lot of gear, which I'm about to show in a second. Dragon claws were a good spec weapon. Other spec weapons include the AGS or DDS. Dragon claws seem to work really well. They hit high, they're a slash, and they hit against Hellhounds really well, so they're well advised. Moving on to the second set of gear, we have full Verax with a whip and defender. Again, we've got the bunyip, so we don't really need a defensive shield. If you feel that your defense level isn't up to scratch, or you feel like you're gonna need some food, then by all means bring some food as well as a bunyip. Or if you have Soul Split, then don't need to worry whatsoever, because Soul Split is such a brilliant curse that you can heal whenever you fancy. If you have a unicorn, then feel free to use that. Again, we've got the Slayer helmet. You can obviously, again, like I said, sub out to the black mask. The Soul Wars cape and Verax give a brilliant prayer boost, and then you can use your Piety prayer or Turmoil prayer again for the entire task. If you are not going to be doing the task in Kurodal's dungeon because you didn't get the task from the Kurodal Slayer Master, then you can sub out the ring for a different ring, maybe Berserker ring, or if you've got a dodgy connection, possibly a Ring of Life, I suppose. There are two good locations for killing Hellhounds. The first is inside the Tavoli dungeon. I'll put a map on the screen, but the best way to get here is to teleport to Falador, go west over the broken wall and down into the dungeon. If you will need a dusty key, or you'll have to go and collect yourself a dusty key unless you've got 70 plus agility, in which case you can use a shortcut and make it much faster. It's well advised to have 70 agility to come here because it's so much faster, unless you want to run away all the way around the entire dungeon. You should only use this dungeon if you have not got your Hellhound Slayer task from the Kurodal Slayer Master. If you did get it from the Kurodal Slayer Master, then you'll be able to kill it in the Kurodal Slayer dungeon. This is the much preferred alternative. Whilst you're here, despite there being already many safe spots for maybe possibly ranging if you want to do that, and lots of Hellhounds, there's a massive abundance of Hellhounds to kill, there's also at level 55 dungeoneering required a resource dungeon filled with even more Hellhounds for you to kill. This is a big room, as you can see on the screen right now, just filled with Hellhounds, and there is an absolute abundance of them for you to kill, so you won't have any trouble with finding a world to kill them in or anything like that. Alternatively, you can kill Hellhounds in the Kurodal's Slayer dungeon. This is the much preferred alternative. However, you can only do this if you got your Hellhounds task from Kurodal. This means you can wear the Ferocious Ring, and you'll have a plus 40 added to every hit you hit. There are plenty of Hellhounds in here. There's only really enough for possibly 2 people per world at most, and that's in maybe a high spawning world, but 99% of the time you'll be the only person there. And if there is someone else there, you can hop and you will find a world extremely easily. You'll hit the best here, and like I said before, you should see me just killing them in the background. Make sure you've got your Turmoil or Piety activated at all times, because you will just tear through them, making a Slayer task much faster. On screen now, I'll put up a few tips to remember whilst doing your Hellhounds task. Turmoil and Piety, I know I keep saying this, but having them, either of them, whichever one you have, activated at all times during the task will make it around 50% faster. You'll get through your task faster, you'll get towards your next task faster, and you'll make profit on most tasks, even using Piety and Turmoil. It makes it much faster, makes experience faster, and you don't have to do it, but it is well worth it. Always use extreme and super potions. If you don't have extremes, then make sure you're using super potions, and maybe even use them even more regularly, just to pot a bit more often. The cost is easily covered again by drops from most tasks. I know Hellhounds don't have great drops whatsoever, if anything really, apart from some gold charms and some other charms. But you'll make it back on other tasks really easily, so it's well worth it because it will again just increase the speed of your task. Having a good special attack weapon, as you can see, I've got Dragon Claws. Other weapons will help. If you don't have any high level or high value good spec weapons, then just use a DDS. It costs next to nothing and is well worth it. It's still increase slightly the speed at which you can complete the task. And also, if you're finding yourself stood around, then make sure you go on a high population world. The reason is monsters respawn faster on high population worlds, and it doesn't really apply for this task so much, but for some tasks, or if it's a really busy time, then make sure you just jump onto a high population world. As for drops, Hellhounds don't really have any notable drops whatsoever. They drop quite a lot of gold charms, a couple of green charms, but that's about it. Normally to speed things up, you don't have to pick up gold charms. They don't really give that much experience, and you can power through it a lot faster if you don't. However, it's still summoning experience, so it's just up to you. If you've got 99 summoning, I advise you just power through and don't bother picking up the gold charms. But that's all for notable drops. Thanks for listening, and I hope to enjoy this first Slayer Task guide.